All right, take two. Cool, cool, cool. Welcome, welcome, welcome if you're new to the channel. Welcome if you're returning to the channel for another grandiose installment of 20 key principles of the Mook Jong by Sifu David Ackers. That'd be me. Anyways, if you're new, I've got about 45 years of Mook Jong hitting, training, learning, self-learning, observing, researching, and paying. And so, and that's in a couple, really two main systems, but I've incorporated the Filipino martial arts, which I absolutely love, and into the Mook Jong, believe it or not, but and many other things. Because I'm quite open-minded here, and this is where tradition becomes evolution. And so, but the other two systems are Wing Chun, of course, and then one that's just incredible, that's right alongside, is called Charlie Fut, or Charlie Fut. And so those are really, and a lot of people don't know that there's many Charlie Fut Mook Jongs, other than the Wing Chun one, which is right behind me, but there's all kinds of different types and different ideas, so it might be something you want to research, look into. Very cool ways to train and build iron body training, especially your arms and your legs, of course, and especially arms. So this is number 11, and what's I was thinking about it. What's really strange is I was going to call number 11 or go over stickiness as one of the key principles, and I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. And so I've switched to what I call simplicity, another S, which is strange. And then I also was thinking about symmetry. So I think this will be a double-edged sword tonight. Talking about maybe doing a little demonstrating on both simplicity, the idea of simplicity, and symmetry. So let's start with simplicity. It is, there's so many, okay. I never mean to be demeaning, but I mean to be honest. And that's, and I bring to the honesty also my years of devotion to close quarter combat. And not just talk, and not just watching YouTube and copying it and buying a uniform and then, you know, doing a channel. And yeah, I'm being a little demeaning there, but I say, am I? I see a lot of stuff and I'm just like, there's no way that somebody's put their time in. I can just tell the way they move. I've said this before, I'll say it again. You have to put your time in. That's the meaning to the people who have put their time in devotion. And you can tell when somebody's just really good. You could just see it. And their explanations, their knowledge, their background, and they're not just BSing for whatever reason. Why would you want to do that? But that's not my business. My business here is to really to inform and bring my knowledge out, and for you to glean whatever you can take out of it, and I hope you get a lot. I'm going to be doing a whole, there's so much, and I've talked about this before. I have years of content. So that's because I have years, actually 57 years of consistent training, research, going through all kinds of ups and downs, different schools, different people. Some people I've trained with once, some places I've been for years. It's all across the board. I had one teacher who was actually, God, I've had numerous teachers in different places, like tiger style kung fu, and I'm going to do some and talk about him and do a little bit of or a bit of actually tiger demonstrating on the Mook Jong. And I did that actually, I think in the last video, and I think a lot of people like that because it seems to have had a lot of hits, for me at least, and views and hits. I like that. And so it seemed to be a good mesh of what I was doing. That was the one-handed, I think that was number 10, one single-handed attacks, and why, and just some ideas, and for you to make up your own. This isn't me here telling you what to do or how to do things, or and a lot of people are doing that. And I'm going to do a little bit of that maybe that I talked about with some strikes with more of the Filipino, but the instructional I'm not really doing that, but if you get instruction out of what I'm doing, that's great. So simplicity. Okay, going back to why I'm bringing that up is because I see a lot of ideas, and a lot of people see this, where it's so convoluted, so, and there's nothing wrong with detail, but it's unrealistic in a lot of teaching. And where, of course, you see the other person stand there and just let the person do whatever they're going to do, whatever it is, a takedown or a disarm, anything, a counter striking, whatever. It just, then there's the sparring, and you see the opposite. It's like you don't see any of all that great stuff happen. And why? And I've gone over that in the 4 pillars of how to maybe get to marry those ideas together and be able to actually apply your system, apply your art, apply what you're working on. And so, but I still believe that a lot of teaching and training it becomes too detailed, or it's what I call kind of a laundry list, sort of do this if that happens, do that if that happens. And I don't think that's the right road. Maybe a little bit, but I'm trying to sway your mind to not go, oh, I'm gonna have to. What do I do? What was I supposed to do on that one? Or I shouldn't do this, or my hand should be this way, or don't do a pak sao or a slap block over here, but do it over here. It's like, I don't know. If that is what's being taught and your mind's confused and the wires are too many wires are being crossed, then that may be a problem. And so, but the other side of it is you have to have some, all the pieces, the structure, the ability, the skill, the timing, all that. I mean, that's what everybody's working on, no matter what style. It's about engagement, and in the end, and it is. Now, maybe some schools are not about that as much, and a little more about health or whatever, and that's cool. Just know that that's where you're at, and if that's what you want, know that that's where you're at in that type of school, and don't pretend like something else is happening there. And that's where I was talking about, is it martial or is it just art? Now, it also seem to have gone pretty well. So I'm just bringing up ideas. The ideas that's been in my head for decades. And the idea of simplicity is the road that where you don't have time to think. And yes, you should train and have structure and have an idea or follow a certain way. Maybe you're doing Kempo or praying mantis, whatever you do in Taekwondo, it doesn't matter. But if something's being taught to you where it's so complex and overthought, or someone says always do this or never do, it's like, I don't know about that. Okay, I'm disagreeing, but I'm also saying maybe I'm wrong. But to me, these are just my thoughts. Maybe your thoughts are different. It's like, no, you never do that when that happens. But if you're just overthinking and being overwrought with too many rules, in a sense, and not just seeing the simplicity of when there's an opening, take it. When something happens, counter do something. If you don't have the run or whatever it is, then do what you do. Do something. I have a saying in my school for my students is do something. Don't think, oh, what was it I was supposed to do? Was it a hook, or I'm supposed to catch something, or a throw? It's like, just do something, react. And a really, really good example of this, and what's funny is because most martial arts follow the way of animals, animal combat, animal reactivity. And what's really cool in Kung Fu, or in our systems, I shouldn't say Kung Fu, is that there is a connection, relationship to the animals and what they do, the attributes of an animal. But if you think about it, an animal doesn't say, well, what did I learn here? Should I have done this, or should I have moved? Something happens, they just react. If you put your hand inside of a gate where there's a dog that's a guard dog, some you could pet and they're nice, they're going to lick you, whatever, but I'm not talking about those. The ones that are going to come after you. And let's say they're not even really trained, but they guard, or they're trained, whatever. Let's say they're not, though. just their animal instinct nature is just to do whatever they're going to do. You put your hand in there, it's going to chomp it off, or it's going to run. Maybe you attack their owner, it's going to jump on you and bite you in the throat or the ear, or whatever they're going to do. But the point is, an animal doesn't think, it just reacts. And in the way that it's given its DNA or RNA on to be protective, or whatever it is, whatever's inside of them, aggressive. And the same thing is with close quarter combat, is you're trained more, and this is my belief, is to train in many different ideas and moves and this and that and forms, whatever, but you never really know what's going to happen, and sorry about that. You need to react immediately. I have a algorithm, and the first one is action, and the second one's a reaction. And it can't be where you're trying to think your way through of what I should have done or shouldn't have done, or what move or tool to use. You just do. And trust in yourself, trust in your training, and keep your mind open. And there's a saying called Mushin no Mushin, or Mushin no, or Mushin, which is, I was reading, it's in, you see it in like Kendo and Japanese arts, but it's mind no mind, and it's kind of like Qigong or Tai Chi, or which I'll talk about those later, so I don't want to say they're all together, they're all the same idea, because they're not. They're definitely different. But being reactive, maybe that's what Chi Sao isn't trying to think, oh, should I have done that or that? It's something happens. When I trained with my friend for years, it was about, they say, some people say sensitivity, or I say it's about just, you're using sensitivity, but it's reactivity to something. And so I don't want to get deep into that, but I'm going to go back to the boxer. A boxer sees your head open, your head open. It just, there's an opening to your head, to your body. You take it. That's it. And it's in that way. It's simple. It's not overthinking. I watched the Goofy movie last night with this guy. He's really goofy, and I won't name it, but it's just entertainment. And this guy's pretending like he's going to kick and do all this. Is really funny. And the other guy just smacked him in the face, did a hook to the face, knocked him out. And I thought, man, that's just right before the day I'm going to do simplicity. It's just simple. He didn't get caught up in the other nonsense. He just did them. And so many times when I've sparred, it's just simplicity. Let me tell you a quick story, because I love telling stories. There was a guy that was really upsetting what happened with him, that he was someone I went to school with, and then he got into Kung Fu. So many people did, because when I did Bruce Lee, when I was going to high school and middle school, Bruce Lee was huge. And it still is, but I mean, he was actually alive, and that's how far back I go. And his movies were coming out, and so people really got into it. They'd even wear Kung Fu uniforms to school, and where I went to school, and it's very interesting. So this one guy heard he got into it, and then years later, when I was in the, I won't say which school. Anyways, he kind of showed up there in his little uniform. He would show up. This is really, really a point of anger for me. He would show up, and after class was over, and he was very flexible. I don't understand this. So my teacher and everyone saw that. I mean, I wasn't even hiding it. He didn't even train in the school, but you have to earn your way up to certain, forms that were more advanced, more cool. And I think this was like it was like a double sword versus spear or something very, very cool. Everybody, wanted it. I mean, that's just how it goes. And it's getting dark here. So, well, I'm in the dark. I could turn that light on. Let me see if I can put that light on real quick. And that might help a lot. I'm sorry about that. Well, let there be light. So here, I'm back. And as I always say, unedited. So this is it. I reel them out. And Whatever comes out, comes out. So glad there's a light there. My wife put that there for me. So so he'd show up after class was over. And I mean, this class was really a hardcore class. And then he would go there for his private lesson and to do this cool form. And I'm like, it was just demeaning. That was demeaning. And just like I was saying earlier in the video, not cool. And so that school was kind of, it was destined to fail. And it's too bad. There's so much I loved about it. But, the school was still going. I guess he came to a couple classes. Okay, so this gets kind of good. And he did all this goofy stuff. He thought he was cute. And we barely ever sparred, but actually that was one of the few days we sparred. And I got to spar against him. And he's doing this stupid ass, he thought he could like trick you and throw you off. And he would do this like this. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's doing, while he's snapping, I just did, and I've used this a lot. I just Chun Jonged him right in the chest. And he like flew 3 or 4 or 5 feet back into the wall. I'm like, what is this stupidity? And I felt him, and I felt his energy. He had nothing, and he didn't train. He just acted it out. It was so insulting that he was even there. And he goes, oh man, I'll spar with you anytime, man. Yeah, man, I'll train with you anytime. And I said, I won't train with you. And that was it. I'm like, what? Are you kidding? I'm there sweating my ass off 5, 6, 7 nights a week. And because on the off nights I train on my own, just like I do every freaking day since I was 7 years old. And I'm just thought, why would I ever want to be around you? What? And it was just goofy. And I don't think he ever showed up again. And the point of it was he's acting out all this goofy stuff. He didn't really know much. And I chunged him. Okay, it was I guess you could call this, Chung Jong can be either palm, Buddha palm, and chunged him just in the chest. I've used that many a time, or just a pak sao. And just a pak sao to knock somebody over. If you strike correctly, and timing and all the whole thing, it's just like, it's a push, it's a whatever you want to call it, it's a strike. And if you have an idea sort of what you're doing, you can, it's invaluable. And so, but it was simple. And my thought with him is, it's just simplicity. That's all I really think about, is because it's not like the movies, and there's other things involved that I don't see very many people talking about, which is pain, is causing pain. And that's why I'm talking about the Mook Jong so much, training on it so you can inflict the pain you need to inflict to end whatever it is, because to me this is not a sport, this is for life and death. And to be able to absorb, I guess, I don't want to say absorb pain, but maybe is to be able to be connected with it if something happens. And you can't just pretend. And to me, it's invaluable. This training on the Mook Jong is invaluable. I say it's for everybody. And so anyways, that's the simplicity part. And getting caught up in too many ideas, and I'm all about the training. I'm all about the precision. It's one of my words. But in the end, it's not really about the training and precision, because that should just come out the more you train. It's about not trying to think too many things through, or watch too many things, or too much is happening, and I don't know what to do, or do I, again, the rules, break the rules, do what you need to do, move when you need to move. Okay, as I say here, just do something. And I mean, if you have to, just do it. Do whatever it is. Don't think about it. One of the things I really love about Charlie Fight is it's just about devastating blows, where you're not trying to do these things that would never work. And just like there's a move called a Chinji, and I always think you're just smashing through whatever's in front of you. You don't think about it. You don't worry about it. You're just going from point A to point B down here at a 45-degree angle, and it's like a meteor going through whatever, and just everything's being blown out of the way. And so that is a way to not overthink and just do. And so, okay, so I beat that one a little bit, not to death, but a bit. And so now the second one is symmetry. Symmetry, the way I'm kind of bringing it up here, is training both sides of your body. Now, some systems, the forms are great. They'll take you on both sides, you're working both sides. But now, I don't want to say this because I always say I'm sticking to my word that I don't know what people do. I don't know if there's a boxing school where you also jab with the right and not just with the left. But most schools, it seems like, you can tell me if your school, you're a boxer and you do both sides. That's cool, because I'm all about that. Is equal sides. Is that, but most schools it seems like left, jab, right, cross, that kind of thing. Left hook, whatever, right uppercut. And so to train both sides. And so one of the schools, of course, I bring up a lot here is the Charlie Futt School. There's so many forms, it's insane. And some of them, you work on both sides equally. There's one I was thinking about that. I was like, wow, a lot of it is equal, giving equal time to both sides of your body. Right and left, you're doing it. Some don't. And there's some techniques that come up a lot that are not being, it seems just to be on one side. And so I would say, think about those ones that come up a lot, so they must be important, and then taking them to either side. One that I think of a lot is called a Chun. Okay, a lot of people translate it. Everybody knows Chun. It's interesting that it's called Chun because Chun means certain things, but it almost looks like a choke or sink brick, whatever. I mean, you can research that. But the move goes to left, okay, so it goes to the left, or the left hand. But how much does it go to the right? Now, there are some places in some of the forms where it does, but not as much as it seems to be a left-handed technique. And so my point is to take it to both sides. Look at things that may be important or you do a lot of, and train both sides equally. And even more than that is most people are right-handed, so their left hand is just not as strong. So put more time into it. With the Filipino, like with the sticks we do left and right. Now maybe some schools don't do much left. You're just doing a lot of right-handed stuff, but most are equal side. Not almost using both sides. I'd almost say do more with the left. The left is weaker, or at least do equal. Okay, in the least. So, and that's the same thing on the Mook Jong. If you're always working one side, your favorite side on certain things, then maybe consider working both sides. I've been doing a lot of tiger drills, and I realized at one point, I'm like, I keep doing the same side a little more, and I have to go. And just for a second, I was going, wait, why am I doing, I need to go over and do the other side. And I go, oh, it's not, it just feels a little bit different. And I started working on it more and more, where I went, wow, it's becoming equal to my right side. Because I do ambidextrous training. Even when in one of my trainings with swords, like Japanese sword, the right is usually the hand that's up higher than the left. I do both sides. And do I do enough of the left? Not really. But I do enough where I go, oh, this is getting as sore as my right, because your right's usually stronger, your shoulder and all that. And so you can work with it longer. But I work with the left. I literally switch hands. And I do it with everything. I do a lot of double weapon training, and so it's just equal sides. And the left is, and what's interesting about the left is it's a little bit faster sometimes, because it's not as I talk about strength or muscle bound, because if you're right-handed, and let's say you do something, a lot of like you work with a hammer or whatever, that you're you are using your right hand a lot more, and it becomes a little slower in some ways, a little stiffer. And maybe that's why the jab comes off the left instead of the right. Maybe that's how it ever started. Is it's looser and faster. Just a theory. So both sides. So work both sides, whatever you're doing, and maybe eat a little bit more on the left. So that is about it for simplicity / symmetry. Think about both sides. And all of these ideas they're not supposed to be complicated, but it's like ingredients, I would say, but you need all these different ingredients. Then you put it together, then you have a complete idea. So part of my training is simplicity. I was actually going to do a video, part 2, on simplicity, of going over some palm strikes. So it's like one of the key principles is actually visualization. But sometimes I don't do visualization. I'm just doing. And I'm not trying to even think like, well, that's the arm coming in this way, or it's the left or right. I'm just working on kind of emptying my mind, where I'm saying like the Mushin mind, empty mind, and just flowing, and feel what it feels like to flow and move and chung. And can I chung with the left? Can I chung with the right? Chung inside, chung outside. And I'm doing like the lower hand here, chunging inside and outside. And so I'm working more on neural pathways. And that's something I've talked about earlier on some of the videos. So those are just, it's all these different pieces. I don't ever understand why someone would think close quarter combat could be taught or learned or trained in a couple easy lessons, or it's just an ongoing. It's probably one of the most difficult things on the planet, as some of you may know, in training, and you have to keep up on it. And I think it's a worthy cause for protection and for releasing energy that's pent up inside of you. So it's really good in that way, health-wise, and stretching and all that. And for mental focus and mental clarity and mental emptying. And so, but in the end, it's about skill that you're just not really kind of born with. It's maybe some people are a little better than others, but even people who are great at what they do, great artists, whatever, great cook, you still got to cook, you still got to create art. And so here you have to train, even if you're pretty good in your own way and you can see things that other people can't see. One of the things I can see is the simplicity in striking somebody. I don't make it complicated. I think it becomes very complicated. And it's like, why? It really shouldn't be. It doesn't have to be, as far as I'm concerned. Anyways, like I said, kind of push that one. I believe next video, or key principle number 12, is going to be on very interesting, and it was in my very first video. I went over 6-inch power, and I'm going to go over. I was going to do I think 3-inch, but that's too close. So I think I'm going to do 12, and then maybe like 9, and then 6-inch, and just nothing complicated. I say that one way, and the other way is completely complicated, but it is something. And again, it's another piece of the pie, especially with the Mook Jong Training, because this is one of the principles. But it could be a part of a principle of anything you do. And so that will be interesting. That will be hands-on. This will probably be my first non-hands-on. I'm not going to do anything on the Mook Jong, but just talk. And so I will be back. There was something else. Oh, my wife is going to work with me coming up here pretty soon, so that'll be fun. And then we're going to do kind of a talk on a couple things. And I think I brought this up the other day, but one of them is going to be on astrology and martial arts. So I think it'll be pretty interesting. And I want to do one on how much should you train, how much time-wise, how much when you're not feeling a certain way. Again, I'm not saying. I'm just going to go over it, just talk about it. And this is always about prompting ideas. And it's like, well, am I training enough? Am I training too little? Should I be doing things where I'm really tired? Things to talk, kind of think about. It's more of thinking about. So, because I'm not going to say you should do this or that. It's not, but we can talk about it in a sort of, you can comment and let me know, and I'm always open. So I want to know what people are doing, how much they train. Be really nice to know, and I'll let you know what I do. And that's about it. Okay, have a really nice evening, and we will see you soon.